Let's embark on the Ark Republic to hear current news that's published. More than gossip and chatter, covering current affairs that matter. We talk issues with professional views, all keeping you in queue. We wanted a higher vibe for these days and times, to free the voices and minds, reporting the sign of the times, so all can build. Let's shine, yeah.
So let's talk about Iran. So I think it was February 28th. We got word that the United States and Israel began dropping a barrage of missiles and bombs on Iran, and Iran shortly thereafter responded with their own artillery. Initially, it was supposed to be a few days war. Now they're saying it's going to be a 4-week war. I don't know how you could put time on a war. Back in the day, we just fought till we got tired or somebody got knocked out. But so let's talk about, I don't know about you all, but this is playing out like a hood fight. It is playing out like a hood fight. Have you ever seen the fight where it's first two people fight and then they go get their mama, and then the mamas come and they fight and they go get their auntie, and the aunties fight and then they go get their uncles, and then the whole hood start fighting. This is how I'm viewing it right now. But I want to ask Dr. Sherice a very specific question, because you are our expert in terms of international affairs. First, I want to say, I might put this in there. We talked about Iran, and you were like, we are going to war. It's just a matter of when we're going to war. And when we are in war, what is going to be done? But the certainty of us going to war is that the front lines will be occupied by Black and brown folk. I remember that because you got emotional. I got emotional. So here we go. The prophetess, the political prophetess, called it and talked about that. But I want to know where we are, because I think we're in day 6 right now of what's going on. What are some major maybe issues or takeaways that you are seeing that's going on?
So first off, the reason that they have a timeline on the war is really about artillery. And so that's why they're giving a timeline. If you to better understand it, it's about the weapons that are available and what many people in gaming and war theory believe is going to happen as far as the artillery that's being used, right? And I don't want to get into all the artillery because that's getting in the weeds, but that's why the timeline is given, because it was supposed to be a 4 days war, because the idea was that what we saw late last year with Israel attacking and then Iran responding, and then there being, almost a you hit, I hit, we've done enough damage to each other, now we're ceasing. It was supposed to be that kind of coordinated war, which is why we heard about 4 or 5 days at the beginning. And now we are hearing the 4 weeks is really trying to get at the exhausting the artillery that's available. So that's number one as to why the timeline is being given. Number two, as to why the timeline is given, the timeline's also being given because of how long the rest of the world is going to be able to survive without oil coming out of the Strait of Hormuz, right? And so the Strait of Hormuz is where where a lot of oil production comes in and out. And so that's another reason why this timeline is given, because we're thinking about global markets and oil, and almost 40% of the world's oil is coming out of that strait. And so that's another reason why the timeline is given. Let me also say that is another reason why it was imperative for us, before we went and cleared this attack through Israel, make sure that we had Venezuela under lock, right, to ensure that we would then not suffer the consequences, the long-term consequences of not being able to get oil out of that strait. Let me also say that is why the Board of Peace, right, this fake made up board that Trump made through an international organization of economics, was established. A call for it happened late last year, I think September of last year. It became actualized in January. So I want us to think about this war in Iran not as this chaotic fight that's happening, although it's playing out that way. And I don't doubt Kaia, you're exactly right in the way it's playing out actions wise. I want to get even a little deeper in what you're saying. So I want you to think about this being a fight where it ends up being 2-on-2, but 2-on-2 get to fighting because they're tired of the generational beef that they mamas and they aunties have been talking about. So since they're tired of the generational beef, this new generation decides we're going to take it to the streets. And now the calling of my mamas and my auntie and them and my cousins is because of the generational beef this neighborhood, this family has been having. And so now the idea is let's settle it once and for all. So what and let's settle it once and for all so that when I start developing the Gaza Strip, the development that we are all poised to participate in and make money off of, it cannot be destroyed. So that's the longer arc of the war. One thing that makes it, I think, even more complicated about the history of this is that the regime change piece that people have been discussing, but the fact that Iran was a democracy, right? And the idea that Iran wants to return to being a democracy. Having a supreme leader as far as from a religious perspective has always been fine, but the idea of being able to elect the leaders is something that Iran has always postured, right? And so now there's this tension between older generations of Iranians and younger generations of Iranians who said the West is who we should model ourselves after if trying to get our democracy back, whereas older Iranians are saying, yeah, but you don't know the history of them dethroning the democracy we had and putting in these shahs or these puppet leaders. So that's, for me, I'm thinking about the longer arc of the war, why we are here, and this is the last thing I'll say here is that, and why it was so important for in the Obama administration to get an Iranian deal, because that Iranian deal is what then allowed for this balance to maintain. And by ripping away that Iranian deal that Trump said he wanted to do immediately, is what really kind of allowed us to spin the block, so you say, so we'll say, in getting this generational beef back started. Because once Obama said, hey, we're going to get into essentially a nuclear treaty with Iran, it keeps every generation at its side, and doesn't allow then for this all-out war.
Good analysis, Dame.
I think one of the interesting things that I've been seeing is that, and I've literally counted, this administration has given 9 different reasons for going into Iran since they started. Like, Trump has given 3 different ones already. Rubio, Coke Boy, has given 3. Let's talk about his last press conference. I know Coke Jaw when I see it. You know what I'm saying? I know Coke Jaw when I see it. And when I seen him in that last, he had the Coke sweats, the jaw, like they let these people. This whole administration is like one long Dave Chappelle sketch, man. I was like, I can't believe what I'm watching. Like, he's literally on TV with the Coke sweats, doing moving fast, talking fast, and so anyway, there has been 9 different reasons given, but we know this was really, to me, in my opinion, like, one of the things Trump said was, well, we knew that they were going to attack Israel, so we basically did this to preemptively stop the Israel attack. Like, what happened to America first? What happened to America first, and I'm going to stop putting us into wars that we have nothing to do with? But I think what happened was, when he went into Venezuela and he was able to pull out Maduro so easily, he thought he was going to be able to do the same thing in Iran. But like, Iran don't play.
Dame, you might have to jump out and jump back in because we can't hear you. That Coke Jaw shit was funny.
And the Coke sweats, right? And the Coke sweats. Like, so this is the thing I think that, based upon what Dame is saying, is extremely important about the incompetent nature of the people that we have in these positions right now. We may not have agreed with what Bush was doing or saying, right? We may not have agreed, but competency level, wasn't as high a concern as it is right now, right? Then we just talking about this whole Coke sweats and Coke jaw thing that you said, because you're exactly right. These people are not even really qualified to be able to this is a complex situation, and these folks are so nervous. They're putting out war plans on Twitter. They're texting each other on Signal. They're snorting, snorting coke and then showing up on the press conference. Like, these are not serious people to even be, for us to be on the brink of World War III. These people are not even serious enough people to be negotiating where we are at this very tepid point in international history and politics. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm sorry, it's super windy over here, so my internet has been extra wild today. It's been extra ridiculous today, but yeah, excuse me. But yeah, like you said, these are very unserious people putting us in very serious situations. We very unserious people putting us in very serious situations, and I don't know how we come out of this. I don't know how we fix this. Like I was saying, like, you can't do the same thing in Iran that you was doing to Venezuela. Iran got terror cells all around the country. Iran got power. Iran got missiles. Iran got armies. You can't try to run the same playbook. And I see, because they already talking about we're going to Cuba next. You're not even finished with Iran talking about we're going to Cuba next. How are you talking about going to Cuba and you dealing like so? Like, when you say they're very unserious people, and like you say, putting plans up on Twitter and having like classified conversations out loud, like, it's insane what we're watching. But I think it's a bigger indication of how incompetent this administration is overall. Because I don't know if y'all just saw Kristi Noem. He's firing Kristi Noem now.
Oh, I didn't hear what?
Yeah, breaking news. He said he's firing Kristi Noem. He said Kristi Noem is out.
And we knew it was coming. And this is I've been reserved in making the statements, because I am a more public figure now, more than ever. I mean, my name just got announced as the political action committee chair for the NAACP branch down in Baton Rouge. And so I'm just being careful about when I say things, so that I don't become prophetess, as Kaia talks about. But this is what the white patriarchy does to white women. They use them as the y'all seen in horse races where there's the carrot or the rabbit that's out there and everybody's running after the rabbit, but it's only there to allow the fastest, most vicious, most whatever horse get over the finish line. That is all Kristi Noem, and really in many cases Pam Bondi have been for this administration. They are rabbits that allow the patriarchal men to run after them so they can figure out who gets over the finish line first. And with that being said, going back to this day, how do we get out of it? The way we're going to get out of it is losing. Like, we are poised to quote unquote lose. And I don't believe that they're trying to win. If I'm being honest with you, I believe that they're trying to lose the war so that it then dictates or then allows then the federal government to try to suspend elections. Because if to try to find a way to suspend elections at the midterms. Now, the reason I don't think it's going to be successful as far as suspending midterm elections is that elections, unlike in unitary democratic states, and when I say states here, I don't mean states, little states, I mean states, big as states, and unitary governments like a place like France, the elections are ran and controlled by the federal government. Here in the United States, elections are ran by the states. So I think this is a failed attempt, but I believe that's the playbook. The playbook is, we understand that this is a larger longitudinal war in Iran, so that we're able to develop the Gaza Strip, permanently backing Palestinians into an area that we decided they could be in. But for us to be able to be successful in doing that, we're going to have to suspend the midterms, because if we allow midterms to happen, Trump gets impeached, not just in the House, but also in the Senate, right? It's a lot of dominoes falling. And what I don't think that people understand is, Going back to power, I don't believe the Republicans have enough power for all of these dominoes to fall in their direction. I think there's way too many variables that allow them to line this up and knock these dominoes down in the way that they think they are. I think that just like Ukraine, right? Everybody was like, oh, Putin thought he was going to go into Russia and just sweep Ukraine off the map. Wrong. The same way that I think that this arc that they are trying to paint when it comes to Israel and Iran in this juxtaposition is not going to work out the way that it's going, the way that they think it's going to work out. I think that we lose this war, and I think by losing this war, we're going to have to seriously come to the table on the international stage about what ways there are to move forward. But it's not going to be a unilateral United States presence where the United States gets to dictate how we move forward.
So we can go on, and I really do want to go on and on, but I have to privilege y'all's time. What's going on. So yeah, I'm just looking. Thank you for bringing that information that Kristi Noem is out in Oklahoma, and Trump just said that he is going to nominate Oklahoma Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin as the replacement.
A white male.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And there's so much to say about Noem. I think there might just be a whole thing about just the destruction and how she becomes reduced to somebody who was having an affair. Pulling your panties to the side. So we got cocaine jaw. Now, in defense of Mark Rubio got about 311 million jobs, right? He currently is serving as National Secretary Advisor, acting archivist. What else does he say? Secretary of State. He got a lot of jobs. And he also is working, they said, as the acting director of U.S. Agency for International Development. Cocaine is the only way that he is getting through the day. He's like a producer in the studio that got to get the record out, right? And it's like no sleep. So that's the only defense I have for Marco Rubio. But
Kaia, to your point though, but like a Mexican, he has all these jobs, right? Like I want us to be very clear though, although, funny, but I want us to be very clear. No, I want us to be very clear about the use, right? And the way of discarding or the way of use of people of color, of women, of whatever. You are not Anglo, you are not Anglo-Saxon. Right. Like, and I want us to be very clear about this, because I think that is where we get confused about the players. Just because these players have decided to sell their soul and play the game doesn't mean that the game has changed and the people that control this game see them any different.
But this also goes back to what Dame was saying when we last talked about how basically what America is experiencing is what the Cornel West talked about, the niggerization of America. And so this is also what we are also seeing in this Iran war, because Saudi Arabia is now big mad because they thought, the Middle East thought, Qatar, as you say. I was saying Qatar, and my husband was like, well, what's that? I was like, it's the proper way to say Qatar, right? But Qatar, right, is gave the what is that, the jet that we talked about, right, and all this, and laced Trump up, had this whole 2-day live broadcast of ushering him in the Middle East, and all of them are getting played like a side chick, right, and are getting used and abused because Israel is my wife. That's what they're saying. Israel comes first, she is irreplaceable. So I also wanted, just like the world, and we talked about this a lot, how European states and NATO, right, are like, but y'all supposed to be, coming in and saving us. And Trump is like, I'm not going to be Captain Save-A-Hole anymore. Y'all don't want to be saved, right? So the world is getting, I think, a very full frontal, very rude understanding of this type of white male, narcissistic, destructive patriarchy that we have lived in America, and that we say this is not good. We all have traveled around the world, and when we try to explain what we live in and what is going on, I think we have been deemed as, oh, we are oversensitive, or we are dramatizing it, or we are exaggerating it. Now the world is seeing exactly what we were talking about and how dangerous this is to for this to continue. Because one thing I have to say, this Trump is the type of personality type that nobody else can exist in the room with the type of power that he has. So he'll bring you on to take your money, he'll bring you on, take your money, say your girl is beautiful, say your house is beautiful. And the next thing you know, the girl is sitting on his lap and all you own is a pair of drawers and you sitting outside of your house. And this is what a lot of, I think, these states, are experiencing, because they thought that they were in with Trump. And Trump was like, no, I'm the only king or the only emperor on the throne. Oh, yeah. Oh, all right. Okay. Well, we'll move on. Ooh, I know I'm gonna have to edit the fuck out of that part, but is Marco Rubio Cuban?
As Paul Mooney said, that's just a nigga that can swim.
Woo, this is why I got my Tupac vest on, part 2. Okay.